I think AI democratizes power, and also not because of where we get it from and everything, but I think just generally how much influence one person can have is scarily big now because of this technology. And I think when you go from one culture we have to do things this way, and therefore we have to observe this way, and we have to do it to survive or to be fulfilled or whatever, and then you have a technology that wipes out all those reasons. So then you ask yourself, what is software for? What is a company?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are starting to have these very deep existential questions around what are these things that we know when we don't have to be that way?
What if those agents are performing better than human developers? How do you think that's going to change the dynamic in that quote team? There's going to be some sabotage going on, who's going to get promoted? What about bonuses? How are we going to distribute bonuses?
That's right.
How is it going to change the dynamics in our teams?
What would a bonus to an AI employee be?
More tokens.
Welcome to the Tech Waka podcast, where we dive into the journeys of New Zealand's top tech leaders. Your host for today is Jakub, bringing you conversations with tech leaders and innovators from across Aotearoa. Join us as we uncover the experiences, challenges, and successes that shape our tech community. This episode of the Tech Waka podcast is proudly brought to you by Wires Uncrossed, lifting the standard of software delivery across New Zealand, Australia, and beyond. A big thanks to Wires Uncrossed for supporting the Tech Waka mission and backing the voices of our tech leadership community. To learn more, go to wiresuncrossed.co.nz.
Hey, Joe.
Jakub, it's been an age.
Well, it's been, I checked, 3 years since our recording of our original podcast.
3 years.
It was called Joekub,
Yes.
podcast about agile, life, and monkeys.
Indeed.
It's good to have you back and talk together about just things happening around us, and just maybe have some hot takes and discuss what's possible and what are we seeing. How have you been?
Busy, but good. Yeah, I gave up the whole consulting agile coaching thing. Decided to go work for a startup.
Okay.
I was tired of helping people do things and wanted to just do a lot of things. But it's been great. It's been exactly what I needed to kick my butt back in gear.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm really excited to get Joekub back, because I did enjoy our conversations. I know that many listeners of our previous podcasts enjoyed that as well. So I hope we can give the audience of the Tech Waka podcast, some maybe new insights, new ways of looking at things and bringing our energy together. Even though we are recording it in the evening on Thursday, so our energy levels may be a bit down, but let's see, where the conversation takes us.
You be a little bit quiet because the little one's just going down to sleep right now.
Okay. Well, so you joined a startup, and that startup, as far as I know, is mostly around AI and delivering AI products and solutions. And also when we were recording in 2023, that kind of new AI, because it's not just one AI, we all, I guess, know that. But the mainstream AI, the LLMs, have just kind of been out and has been, in its early stages, and things have changed in the last 3 years. And I think there's no way back from where we are right now, and it's just going to accelerate. How have you found yourself in that space? You finding it frightening, exciting, a little of both?
Yeah, I might be willfully blind and blissful in this space, to be honest. I intentionally joined a company that was leaning hard into AI, not just as in providing a solution to other businesses and consumers, but one that wanted to turn it in on themselves as well. And I figured the only way I can really kind of get a feel for what's going to come next is to be a part of that conversation. And so for me, it seems every week there's something new that comes out or something gets improved. And I just take my glasses off and throw them across the room in amazement at kind of what's going down. I feel the trip that I was on as a software developer back in like the early 2000s to the middle of the 2000s, all those leaps that happened in software and what was possible to even do on the internet from that point to now to then, and then to like even 2020 was amazing. But I feel like all of that time in those leaps, instead of happening like every 6 months or every year, it's every week or every 2 weeks. There's this, whoa, we can do this now. Or, whoa, I don't have to do the 50 steps that was already saving me time. I can just now ask for the thing that I want, and it just does it.
Yeah.
And it's changing. It's changing the way that we think about not just delivering software, but I think it's starting to change the way we think about what's possible to do in general. And what's been cool for me is a lot of our customers are not software companies. We have one product that goes very deep into the software and AI space on its solution in it because it's quite a complex space. But then we have these custom projects which I work on, and those are like one of our customers carpet, another one of our customers does insurance, another one, and they're not small, but they're not like life insurance, or they're not like the big insurance company. And one of our customers is in the music licensing business, and like all these things, and they've heard this story about AI and what it can do, and they ask for things that are not yet possible to do, but you just kind of know, like they've been sold the hype, but what they're asking for is actually pretty reasonable. But it's just hard to, it's just still a little bit hard to do. A lot of our customers, they just want to get rid of forms. Totally unstructured data can come at us from any direction, and it somehow ends up in the right place, and we can make decisions from it. That's one thing. A lot of customers ask for solutions that can self-learn, which, sure, but it's a little bit more complicated than just saying that. And it depends on what you're talking about doing. And then a lot of our customers just want to ask their data questions, is what they say. Because in ChatGPT, you put in a spreadsheet and you can ask it questions. All the data that goes through my business, surely it must work the same way.
Yeah.
But actually, it isn't today good expectation that that access to that level of power, basically in decision making, should be like that. But it will be. It will be very soon. I get just on the trajectory that we're at. All these sort of what used to seem like unreasonable requests are basically just going to be possible. So then you ask yourself, what is software for? What is a company?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are starting to have these very deep existential questions around what are these things that we know when we don't have to be that way, because they can see it coming. So that's what I see right now. Right now, it's like business as usual. The adoption rate is still different for everyone. Different businesses want to adopt it at different rates. But there is this sort of deep sense of what will the future be, because we can see all these designs and these things that we thought were really important become obsolete really quickly.
It's almost like going back in time and going to the time of, the steam machine being invented, and how people were probably terrified and they were not sure what's going to happen. And then similar how cars were invented, and then TV and internet, all of the situations, like it's just going to change the whole society. Yeah, it's amazing. There were two things that came to my mind when you were speaking, Joe. One is that I love how we turned from describing every detail, how the software needs to work and what it needs to do, to just telling, hey, this is my problem, figure it out for me. And it's just much more outcome focused. And often I would find myself that, I have this problem and I just feel paralyzed, and I just need to shake it out, like, but I now can ask just Claude, and it's going to tell me. And if it's rubbish, it's going to be rubbish, but it's going to take me really 20 seconds to ask it. And very often it's it gives me something to think about, at least. So it's just amazing how solving problems is going to be easier. But of course, defining problems is also now, and the context around problems is going to be crucial, so that we can get. Something that came to my mind was going to our backgrounds in agile delivery and agile ways of working. I've always been a fan of, I think, very forgotten extreme programming framework. I just loved it because that was the first agile framework that I was introduced to, and I loved that ideas of those feedback loops and TDD and pair programming. and CI/CD. Back then it was just CI, continuous integration first, and small iterations, small user stories. And I can see now that this is basically the way with AI software development. Like, you get extremely fast feedback loops. You need to have small changes. You basically, TDD helps you, drive that quality. You basically get a pair programmer for you so that you can work with. Like, all is just now coming back, all of the good practices that were part of XP and around kind of the software craftsmanship and clean code. This is all coming back as the main thing for us to build better software, better code. I just love how we went the whole circle into 1999 or 2001, and it's probably even more relevant.
Yeah, the cost of building a solution is so small now. And it's so right now we're experimenting with how we build custom solutions. Now, the same needs exist, so we still have some sort of analysis phase in the beginning so that we can then give them an idea of how much it's going to cost to build the thing so they can reserve some money and say yes and no early and that sort of thing. But we've gone from having the conversation on the Miro page or Lucid Spark page to having the conversation in front of an already built prototype with dummy data, or we have the initial conversation, then we build something based on what they said that's full of just to create an experience, and then we get feedback from the experience. Meanwhile, while that's happening, one of us is also looking at the data they're giving us access to, and we're realizing what is possible, what's not possible. And then, so like this, something that used to take 2 or 3 weeks, we can actually get to in 4 days for a lot of the stuff and getting an idea of what's possible. So that's crazy. It's fun to be back in that process as well. So I work with an amazing group of developers, but each engagement lead paired with a tech lead. And we both work on solutions, on different aspects of the problem at the same time. And it's fun. It's really fun.
You mentioned estimation. I don't know if you noticed, but many of those tools like Codex and Cloud Code, they are very bad at estimating.
I haven't tried.
I would find them, they would tell me, create a plan for an app or whatever I'm trying to build. And they would just tell me how it's going to take, 2 days and it's going to take a week. And I'm like, I know you can do it in a couple of hours, really. Why are you telling me it's going to take me, 2 months to build it?
Because it's trained on human data.
Exactly. It's so funny sometimes. It's so funny.
One of the things I suspect is happening as well is the code. I think architecture is extremely important in knowing how systems work together. I think the spec is becoming more important than the code. Not that the code isn't important, but I think more time should be spent in checking the problem and getting a really good description of what needs to happen to get the result, or what you think needs to happen to get the result, and then linking that into your sort of like in architectural strategy. And that's currently our approach. It could be wrong. I don't know. It could be wrong in 2 months. I might have something completely different. But right now, we use the prototyping phase to understand where we can stretch the technology as well as where we can create the experiences. And we make a lot of wrong decisions. But that informs kind of this spec that we get at the end. That when we say, okay, the spec for this feature is this feature is this, how do we want to build it in what order? And we just choose something and then we go forward from there. So I think a lot of the stuff that we learned before AS was routine code is applicable, but I think the way that we do it is just changing. I think the problems to solve are the same. How we can solve them is very different.
So now tell me, Joe, what happens if you have AI agents as your teammates? You have a couple of developers, a couple of agents working together. And what if those agents are performing better than the human developers? How do you think that's going to change the dynamic in that quote teams or team? There's going to be some sabotage going on, who's going to get promoted? What about bonuses? How are we going to distribute bonuses?
That's right.
How is it going to change the dynamics in our teams?
What would a bonus to an AI employee be?
More tokens.
Is it like more time on OpenClaw or something, or like what do they want?
Yeah, I know.
I think from the human standpoint, I think I can that space. It's the same as if you're with a human employee who you saw as other and felt some pressure to perform, or against them, people would either lean in and just get to know them and cheer them on, which doesn't always happen, or you act against them, or you completely ignore them and you pretend they don't
Yeah.
exist. Those are your three options and variations in between. But in terms of what the AI would, do you think, okay, so do you think the AIs are being trained in a way that they would notice the impact they're having on their teammates and decide to throttle down their effectiveness just so that they can fit in?
Maybe. Or what if the opposite happens, what if the AI is so good that it's almost, weird that you have senior developers and kind of AI is at the same level as you. So maybe AI is promoted to being a lead developer and human developer starts reporting to an agent. Would that happen?
Well,
Who knows,
I do think project coordination and management, a lot of that will be handed over. I'm not necessarily talking about the analysis and design of it, although obviously the AI will be tools in that process. But like, I guess where a lot of the coordination, inspection, tracking, all of that, maybe not the stakeholder management, at least not at first, unless it's managing other AIs as stakeholders, which is a complete possibility in the future. I do see that aspect as not going. I think anybody who has that knowledge will be far better off in anything they do anyways, because it's just valuable across the board.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the day grind of that is already starting to disappear, but will just generally disappear. I was talking to ex-colleagues just the other day, and they were just telling me how one of the biggest problems on projects or programs of work is getting people to put in data into systems. And now with a lot of the listening technology that we have, the ability to observe lots of data and get meaning out of it really quickly, people don't need to enter data. Their data can be discovered and put in the right place for them. And so we have this visibility into how we're working and what's happening like we never had before. Like a good example is today, because we've changed our process, we're changing how we keep our clients and ourselves up to date. And so we used to do like weekly status reports, which we had AI help write, but it was better than not having AI, but it was a grind. Now we've got it to the point where we've connected it to the software we use to record conversations, to email, to our team discussion channels, and to our project tracking software, and then to a few other places where we put stuff. And now all I have to do is go to the agent that I created today in about an hour and say, hey, give me this project for the last 7 days. And it says, has the budget, because it's not plugged into the budget. I'd give it a screenshot of the budget. I tell it some way to interpret it. And I give it some context on some social interactions I had that I didn't think were recorded. And out pops this amazing summary of the last 7 days that is spot on. And that it took me about an hour to create the ability to do that. And it takes about 5 minutes to get that summary. And then those summaries, if they happen every week, I'll have a week update, which I have a timeline now that I can go back and query. And just that amount of transparency and the ability to go back and understand how things are connected and why they've happened. It's so easy to collect information now. And that's totally AI powered. I think that's probably one of the biggest things in business that is such a positive impact for hopefully everybody, is that ability to just see what's happened. Whereas before you had to choose to share that information, now it's just gathered.
I think it brings me to a point, Joe, that a lot of the conversation in LinkedIn and in the media is that AI is making us more stupid or dumber, and I can see that point. But also what you just said, and the power of AI, and of course people need to use it that way. It's just a tool like any other tool. But you can also use AI to be much smarter and to sharpen your thinking, because you can ask for it. You can say, pretend to be someone that is, has a very different opinion than I do, and criticize this, or show me what I'm not seeing, or, how can I make this decision towards this outcome? And it will help you. It will guide you. You can say, show me my blind spot, and it will do that. So you can also use it to get smarter. I was just showing at work today a skill I found somewhere, it's Council of 5 skill. It's very easy, 5 sub-agents are being run against a problem you give them. They talk to each other. Each of them have different thinking heads of, I can't remember who created the 6 thinking heads kind of method
The
of
different
thinking and
hats.
solving
Yep.
problems. Yeah.
I know
So
what
it's
you're talking
similar there. There were just 5 different agents. One is pro your idea, another is against, another is an executor who just want to get stuff done. Another one is kind of first principles thinker, and then there was 5th one. And at the end you get a report from a kind of chair of that committee, and you get a kind of verdict, but you also can see what each of them said, and it can get you thinking from 5 different, 10 different, 100 different perspectives.
about.
And you still can make a choice, but how much smarter you can be just by using that. It's going to run for 2 minutes and it's just going to give you 5 different perspectives. And then you can consider that as if you were having conversation with 5, 6 different experts. This just, blows my mind how much smarter we can be if we choose to be smarter.
I think it's the first time I've ever felt like the information highway is actually there. People talked about the internet and all the information, and sure, you can look stuff up. You kind of got it. This is the first time where I feel like it's on tap. Yeah, and which is silly because of course World Wide Web's amazing and what we can do with it is amazing, but this is the first time where it literally feels as effortless as turning on the tap. Is it making us dumber? I don't know. I'll leave that for the scientists to figure out, because physiologically, who knows? I will say that I kind of see it from the perspective of from a person who doesn't have power to a person who doesn't. When I say power, I just mean the ability to enact change, or to have the potential to create change from knowledge and from action. And I think AI democratizes power, and also not because of where we get it from and everything. But I think just generally how much influence one person can have is scarily big now because of this technology. And I think when you go from one culture we have to do things this way, and therefore we have to observe this way, and we have to do it to survive or to be fulfilled or whatever, and then you have a technology that wipes out all those reasons, none of those skills that are valuable apply to them because they don't have to. And it's very easy to have a disconnect between those two cultures and think one is stupid and the other one isn't. Or easy to see that because the things that are valuable, they don't value. And that they're leaning on a technology or something that is bigger than them. And if it got pulled out, they would need to know that what to think that they're stupid when they've just had that under them for long enough that it's part of their culture now, and they lean on it and they think differently. I don't necessarily know that it takes away from our ability to think at any level. I think the incentive of our environment determines a lot of how we think. And it's definitely, this is definitely going to change our environment. It is changing our environment, but it's definitely going to change our environment. When I hear people say it's going to make us more stupid or we're not thinking as much, I'm skeptical, barring 10 years of science backing it up. That's true. I think we're just changing really quickly, perhaps trusting a little bit too much in this platform, but also leaning in heavily.
I think that's a great way to wrap it up for today. It's been great to have this chat, Joe, and I hope we can have more Joekubs a bit more often and share with the community as well. And hopefully people who are listening to this, leave your comments, send us a message on LinkedIn, and tell other people that Tech Waka is here and that Joekub is back.
Good to be back. It's good to see you.
Awesome. Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
A special thanks to our sponsor, Wires Uncrossed, helping teams across New Zealand, Australia and beyond untangle software delivery and build systems that truly perform. We're grateful for their support in making this conversation possible. Check them out at wiresuncrossed.co.nz.